I am so excited to be with you today. And I would really like to talk about Lesson 25 in A Course in Miracles, which relates to everyone if we take in the message, even if you're not a Course in Miracles student. It reads, I do not know what anything is for. Now let's consider that for a minute. Most of our judgments are based on we think we know what things are for. For example, if I ate that cake, that means I'm a bad person. And years ago, I would have said that. I don't say it now. Or this is a bad thing. This is a good thing. This is good for society. This is bad for society. This means I'm going to gain weight. This means I'm back to drug addiction. This means I don't, blah, 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 blah. And it not only is a source of personal angst and fear and trauma, because we make decisions, even as babies and children, about who we are based on what needs we feel aren't being met or what interpretations we make about life. So this belief that we know what things are for is almost always wrong. And yet we believe it. And one other thing that we have in common is that we'd often rather be right than happy. And that's another famous Course quote. And so what's that based on? Both of those notions that we'd rather be right than happy, even though we wouldn't say that. We want to be right and happy. So true, right? And that we believe we know what things are for. They're both based on a belief in separation. And the Course says that is the only problem that we have. This I want to say determination. It's a closed subject. We feel, as the scientists used to believe, that we're made of solid matter. And the best we can do is metaphorically join with our brothers and sisters and people in other nations. And that's so noble of us and so generous. But quantum physics says we're absolutely not these solid people. We are energy potential. What does that mean? I got a great example of what that could mean just the other day. What if energy potential means that Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, da-da-da-da, excuse my saying, but you know that tune, most of us do. What if that music was already existing in potential, and we just needed a localized human being to embody that? Isn't that what they said about the statue, David? That he just removed the extra pieces, but it was already there. He carved it out of what was already there. That's what the artist's experience is. They believe that for the time they're doing their art, they are being downloaded, they are being moved, they are being spoken to. Their bodies are being used by the oneness. And what if we just changed our perspective and allied ourselves with science? That we are these beings that are localizing the oneness of all of us, of all beings, of all nature, of all weather, that we're all one being moved around. What if that were so? Well, the Course in Miracles also tells us, because it speaks to us in many levels, on many levels, it says, choose again. And I've learned something very profound about that since actually deepening with the non-dual. I realized that as long as we have a belief that we're separate and we think we're these ego systems of material bodies, then our experience will be that it's the I, the local separate self that's choosing. And as long as we believe that, the Course is so profound by telling us when we're in that localized separate self, then let's look at our thoughts, let's look at our feelings. But when we're in the oneness, we're not so attached to our thoughts and feelings. We're ready to go with what Spirit would like, how Spirit would like to move us. We're actually even ready for the greater good. And which of us could possibly think we know for sure what the greater good is? We really only know that from that feeling of certainty when we're in the separate self. And the Course in Miracles has a wonderful message in the first page of the teacher's manual when it says we're always teaching, not just the people who decide that they're going to be teachers. We, each of us, every moment, are teaching ourselves or other people exactly what our beliefs are. Through our energy, we're connected. If I think I'm the separate self, I'm going to act in a way that you're going to know where I'm coming from. And if I believe in the oneness, where I believe that everything is for the totality, I couldn't possibly know anything. And my gratitude is for this millisecond where I was moved to speak with you today on these subjects. And in this millisecond, no matter what's going on with my body, no matter what I thought was going on in my relationships or my friendships or my body or my future, all is well. And if you listen to my voice, you'll know I'm coming from that truth right this millisecond. A lot of times we have intuitions. We don't know. We have intuitions. And when we're willing to follow those intuitions, and when we're even willing to ask, what is it you would like me to do? Universe, oneness, God, if you will, if that's your word, or quantum field, show me what is your interest for me in this millisecond. Would you have me move? Would you have me speak? Would you have me do? You decide, and I will follow, certain that your direction will bring me peace. It'll bring me peace, not necessarily what the separate self wanted. Separate self wants more beauty, more youth, more stuff, more time, more, did I say money? Shoes, cars, tractors, mowers, tools if you're a man. I don't know what men desire. Some men desire clothing, but it's only the separate self that desires those things. So what is peace actually? What is harmony actually? What is oneness? It's, for me, and everybody would have a separate, different definition. But when we connect with the oneness, our words might be different. But you'll see probably if you polled a number of people that they were synonyms, not cinnamon, synonyms of the same freedom, the same lack of suffering. That's what we all want. We might say we want a relationship, or we want more money, or more whatever, you fill in the blank. What's the experience that we really want? We want not to suffer. We want not to be in lack and limitation. And the Course says so brilliantly, we only have one problem, and that's the belief in separation. And luckily, that's true of most mystical traditions, including the non-dual. If we're not separate, there are no issues. And then we can play in the playground of life without the encumbrance that we hold on our backs from separation, from this belief, because we're not separate. We're just believing a mistaken idea. The historical definition of sin is that we missed the mark. And that's super important, because no matter what we're doing, it's part of the script as well. So we're all on a similar path. And speaking of that, I would like to out the greatest secret of all. The greatest secret of all, I think, is that from this belief of separation, each person might believe that they have a private sense of unworthiness, a private sense that they have an imposter syndrome, or they are unworthy in some specific way, or they have the modern word of low self-esteem, and then they keep it to themselves. And we know that we're joined, that we don't, there are no secrets. Course is big on that, but we know it in our own lives. And there are, I don't think they call themselves magicians. There's a field where people can read your mind, and they do it on TV channels like America's Got Talent, where they can read the cards of the person, and there's no way they could have read them because they were all mixed up. There's no sleight of hand, there's no nothing. And they prove to us in fancier and fancy ways that when we know without any doubts that our minds are joined and we're not separate, then we know that we are what love is. We are what freedom is. It's the greatest hoax to believe that we have all of these inequalities, all of these not good enough syndromes going on, whether you do drugs to feel better, or you shop to feel better, or you gamble, or you do sex, or you do whatever, or you just feel badly to punish yourself for your lack of self-worth. Let's start a movement. Are you willing to join me in opening up the secret of not good enough? someone in a class I was teaching said, I have this feeling of not good enough. I pause, and then I have the feeling again, or the thought. And so to her, that was proof that she could never have a different experience, and that the fact that thought came back after she paused meant for sure it was right. Well, she's not alone. And she was very shocked when I said, thank you. You helped so many people. Well, why did she help them? Because she also had these icky thoughts and feelings? No, she helped them by outing the fact that we all, when we believe in a separate self, have this overwhelming sometimes and small feeling of not good enough, unworthiness. And we carry it around and we cover it up, and we think if nobody knows, then we'll be better off. And then there's this old Alcoholics Anonymous saying, it says, don't compare your insides to someone else's outside. So someone else may look confident and gorgeous and talk a good game. And then I want to think, well, I am the one who has these feelings, but they don't. No, 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 no. It's not true. Let's make a movement to change this and not be like the emperor's new clothes and pretend that it's different. Let's out this myth that we're separate selves and that we're not good enough. They go together. It's an equation. If you see somebody with some kind of ego coming from their energy, from their behavior, from their thinking, from their talking, just from what you can experience, if they're coming at you that way, from an egoic way, then you know they're coming from a separate self, and they have some version of not good enough or better than, which is, of course, the flip side. One hurts more, the other is an inflated sense of a separate self, which only lasts a little while, because there'll always be somebody who's better, stronger, bigger, or who has more, because that's the trajectory of the ego. To be not satisfied, to look for satisfaction and end up unsatisfied, except for a few brief moments. One can get what it is one wanted and have a brief high, but it goes right back to the cycle of getting. So if we were to start a movement together, what would that look like? It would be like not pretending when we're in a separate self. So say, oh, I have the gremlins today. I'm in this great writers group, and they just talk about gremlins, and we don't need to know what their thought was, what their feeling was. We just need to reach out with a connection and say, ah, and then remind them of who they really are, part of the whole puzzle piece of life. They are the localized puzzle piece with their proper edges to be the connector. I recently heard a conversation between Oprah Winfrey and the beloved Maya Angelou. And Oprah said, I think that my schools are my legacy. And my great love, Maya Angelou, said, no, that's not your legacy. Your legacy is connection. Your legacy is how many people you have touched. So how can we use that in our lives? How can we take these spiritual principles and affect our lives? First of all, let's not buy into these thoughts. Let's consider it junk. If we swallowed poison or some old food, we would spit it out. We wouldn't judge ourselves. Oh, you're a bad person. You ate that. No, 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 no. Just disregard it as not relevant. Thoughts and feelings change from moment to moment. How did you feel at 10 a.m. yesterday? How did you feel at 10 a.m. today? How did you feel at 11? What were your thoughts at 12? But you're the same I that you were when you were 5, even though your thoughts and your feelings and your body and your age are different. So what if that I wasn't a separate self? It was part of the oneness. You just had a false belief. So now when we have these thoughts and we feelings, we're not going to believe in them. That's the only trouble. The thoughts and the feelings are not a problem. They come and they go. They're gone by 90 seconds, the effects of them. But they're not gone if you add paragraphs. So let's not only not label them, as I talked about in an earlier video. Let's not label them, but let's not believe them. Then they're nothing. They come and they go. Let's believe in what never changes. And I don't really know how much time I have left on this, so I will just take a few minutes and bring us into that place that's outside of our heads, that's outside of this room. It's out into the air. That's out into the galaxies. That's out into the weather. That's beyond the clouds and the weather and is at the blue sky that was hidden by the clouds. And let's know that that place never changes. And that place that has no edges, so it's not a place, will always hold us. And if you think that you're not, how can you live as not a doer? Lay on the couch and think, I just won't get up. Try. But you will get an idea. Get a glass of water. Call this person. And when you do, this time, maybe you will consider that the greater oneness, the greater intelligence gave you that idea rather than your small brain that of the separate self. And just as your car knows how to drive places, even when you forgot you were driving, let's welcome the infinite intelligence to move our lives through our thoughts and feelings, if we'll allow it, but certainly our actions. And when we're willing, you'd be surprised at the metamorphosis that you can experience because you are already 100% wholly, whole, and complete. You just haven't always known it or remembered it. So I challenge you today to join the movement, to out our thoughts and feelings and not believe them, and reach out in that connection to touch someone, many someones all day long, starting with yourself. It only means looking at the person you're paying. It only means thinking with gratitude. It only means showing up. So until next time, I hope you join me on my YouTube channel and we can connect more often. Bye, everyone.